Check, 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 check. Check, 1, 2, 3, check, check, check. We're good there. All right. Hey, everybody, welcome to this week's show. You guys ready? I think we're going to get ready. I got Facebook Live going. Hello, everybody on Facebook Live. Let's go ahead and start this thing. All right, welcome to this week's edition of the Unknown Files show, brought to you in part by our good friends out Soldier Boy Jerky. Have you tried Soldier Boy Jerky yet? If not, go see them. Check them out at soldierboyjerky.com. Tell them the Outdoor Guys sent you. Got a good show for you tonight. We're going to go into one of the most celebrated unknown files, creature, cryptid, hominid, however you want to say it. We're going to be talking Bigfoot again. And we're going to get up close and personal tonight with someone that was elk hunting and experienced something that he wasn't prepared for. So we're going to get into that tonight. Need to say hi to Rick and Steve and everybody on Facebook Live following us tonight. File number 11. It's the case of the Oregon Bigfoot. So let me go ahead and get our guest on the line, and we'll get him dialed up, and we'll say hi to our buddy Mark.
Hello, it's Mark.
Mark, it's Outdoors Dan. Welcome to the Unknown Files show. How are you?
Good. How you doing today, Dan?
I'm doing good, man. I'm good. Where are you at tonight?
Just hanging out at the house. That's about it.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, let me tell you a little bit about Mark. Mark was featured in a national documentary called Flash of Beauty. We had Tobe and Eric and the guys on our first show 12, 13 weeks ago. Can't believe it's been that far. We're that far into it already, but Mark's story was featured in the documentary, and he's also going to be in the sequel coming out later this year. Mark's been a bow hunter for over 36 years, and he normally works as a aircraft machinist out in Oregon. What's up, Pete? Good to see you. Roger, how you doing in New York, buddy? Good to see you there. I always appreciate you guys. Steve, hello. Thank you for checking out the Unknown Files tonight. I appreciate that. Mark, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good. Doing really good.
You know, one of the things that I appreciate you was when I first saw Flash of Beauty last year, before I even started this show, because, you know, you and I talked a little bit a couple weeks ago. I've always been interested in the lore, the legends and everything about Bigfoot or Sasquatch, even though I've been, you know, out in the woods a couple thousand hours a year, you know, filming hunts and just doing my Outdoors Dan thing. I've never seen or heard anything, but I've always kept an eye out, you know, because I grew up on that stuff, and you and I see a lot of that. You said you liked the legend of it growing up as well. One of the things that I appreciate you and your story is the fact that you're not selling anything. You don't have a book, you don't have a TV show, a radio show. You're just a guy that was out elk hunting and had something that just happened that you never would have believed happened, right?
That's correct. Yeah, just average guy, just doing my hobby that I love to do, elk hunting, and just happened to have one run out in front or step out in front of me.
Well, let's get into this. Now, you've been bow hunting, like I said, for over 36 years, and you were out in the West Coast, Oregon. Was it always Oregon or Washington State, or where'd you go hunting at?
I've always hunted just Oregon.
Oregon. So yeah, I mean, you've been out for a while. How long have you been elk hunting? I'm sure you've encountered a lot of bears on those trips.
Yeah, there's pretty much every animal that's in Oregon I've seen, other than the wolves. I haven't seen the wolves yet, but the bears, cougars, deer, elk, moose, you name it, I've seen it.
Well, I mean, let's just get into it and tell everybody. You know, how many times had you been elk hunting before this happened to you?
I couldn't even begin to tell you. I started elk hunting when I was probably 16, and I'm 50 now. So, you know.
And what year did this happen to you?
2019.
2019. So not too long ago. So,
Yep.
all right. So, how many times have you seen bears when you were out in Oregon, up in the mountains?
I see them every year out hunting.
Okay,
Every year. So
so you're well familiar with what a bear looks like, what they sound like, and have you seen bears walking on 2 feet?
I've seen them stand up. Yeah, I haven't seen them actually walking on their 2 feet, but I've seen them stand up quite a few times.
Yeah. When I was out in Colorado elk hunting first time, I'll never forget this. There was a lot of scrub oaks. Do you guys have scrub oaks out in Oregon with the
Yep.
acorns? Okay.
Yep.
So I was up on a little ridge and I was glassing down into the switchbacks and stuff, and I saw a black blob come out of the other side of the switchback, and it got into some scrub oaks, and I saw it stand up and just reach up and just grab the scrub oak down, and he was pulling the bear. It was a black bear, and he was pulling the acorns down to get them to eat them. Now I've seen that a couple times. I'm sure you have as well.
Yeah, I've seen them standing up, like looking over things, trying to check things out, not sure what was going on. They'll stand up and then hit their feet and take off or whatever. I've seen them standing up with their back on the tree, scratching themselves on the trees. Yeah, I've seen them plenty of times standing up on their hind legs.
Yeah. So let's just tell everybody what happened in 2019. So you already know what a bear looks like. You've encountered bears. You've seen them scratching. You've seen them standing up. You know what the anatomy of a bear looks like. So you're up on the mountain. Did you go up in the early morning, or when did this happen? Early morning, afternoon, evening?
So this, when I physically saw them, it was a morning hunt. So most hunters know hunt with your face into the wind, and morning time. It's going up the hill, and I had a tree stand sitting right on top of the ridge, and they were feeding up out of the bottom and watering out of the bottom, and they'd come up past me and work their way back behind me to their bedding ground.
Okay.
And so, sitting in my tree stand every single morning, I'd hear something back behind me every morning, like clockwork, between 9 and 9:30, and it would make a grunting sound, and I'd never heard it before, and I just kind of kept it in the back of my head, like, what the hell is that? I've never heard that before, and finally, on a Sunday, I decided I'd gotten there Monday and hunted, and then that Sunday morning, I decided I'm going back in there, and just to see if I can figure out what the heck's making that sound, and and I could hear them walking through. So I get back there, get sat down about an hour before light, and I probably went about, I don't know, 80 yards, 90 yards behind where my tree stand was, down the ridge a little bit, and it flattened out. There was a nice little meadow in there, so the tons of elk rubs and trails going through there. So got set up there, and it gets light, and I'm sitting behind the log, and got a bunch of brush back behind me to break me up, and out of the left side of my eye, corner of my eye, caught some movement. I just turned my head real slow, looking, and something pops its head out and pops back really quick, and I just kind of thought to myself, what the hell is that? That's kind of weird.
Now, and how far was this? How far away?
35 to 40 yards, somewhere in that range.
Okay.
So,
all right.
It popped its head back out, and I thought, well, that was, it was brown, and I thought, was that a hunter? And I thought, no, it couldn't be a hunter because it was a face. I saw the face. I thought I would have heard him come in because there's a lot of windfall and stuff through there. So a freaking squirrel walking through there sounds like a herd of elephants going through it. I mean, you can't be quiet in there.
That is the epitome of every hunter's nightmare, is when you hear the
Yep.
and your heart gets pumping and everything, and then and then what does it turn out to be?
Freaking squirrel.
Oh, freaking squirrel, man! That happens all of us out there. So you 35, 40 yards away, and this was behind you slightly, or
it was off to my left side.
Off to your left side. And where was the wind at? Was it in your face?
It was in my face.
Could you smell anything?
I could not smell anything.
Okay, so whatever it was popped its head out a couple times, and then what happened?
So then I turned my head, and I'm looking straight at that where it came out, and I'm I'm just kind of confused because I would have heard a hunter come in because there's no way, that they could not make noise coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And then it stuck its head out, and I saw its full head and part of its shoulder because it was leaning out from behind um, a pine tree out there. And it just sat there and stared at me and stared at me and stared at me for probably 15 seconds, and then pulled its head back. And at first, it didn't click what it was. And then I sat there for a second. I'm like, holy crap, that's a friggin' Bigfoot. Are you friggin' kidding me? And I'm like, in my head, I'm freaking out and I'm starting to shake really bad.
Yeah.
And I'm watching and listening, and I never heard it walk off. I never seen it again. Nothing. It disappeared.
Well,
and so I sat there for probably 5 minutes just shaking, and I'm like, I'm out of here. And grabbed my pack, threw it back on my back, and headed back over the mountain, dropped down into the canyon, hit the creek line, followed the creek line all the way out, and got myself back to camp.
So how much have you hunted this spot before?
I've hunted it for 20 plus years.
So you're well familiar with the property.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Have you ever heard anything or seen anything before that was weird?
No, never.
Never. Wow.
Never in there. I did have what I was told was a tree knock encounter. So, and that had happened. So I got there Monday, and then Wednesday evening, I got set up the bottom of the hill over a heavy use trail. There was some water there. There was an old trough back in there because they'll run cattle back there now and again, just open range, run cattle. And wind in my face, again, set up with some brush behind me and watching over some rubs and a wallow hole and stuff. And so I'm sitting there and I hear again, it's just tons of windfall behind me, or just everywhere in there. And I heard a twig, kind of twing, as something was stepping over it. And I thought, crap, I'm going to get busted. Here they come. And they're going to catch wind of me.
You thought it was an elk?
I thought it was an animal. I didn't know what it was for sure, but I knew it was an animal.
Okay.
And it comes and walks right directly behind me. I'll bet it's not 20 yards behind me. And in my head, I'm like, why is this thing not running? It should be running. Then it turns and it walks way to my left, and it loops around to where the trail comes out of the brush. And so I got an arrow knocked up and got my release on the string, and I'm ready to draw, just waiting for it to step out to see what it is. And it gets right to that edge, and it would stop, and then it would never step out. Then it would turn, and it'd go back behind me again and come out to my right. The same thing. It would just stop right before it would come out in the opening. And it did this for probably 20 minutes, just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then it got right behind me again, and all of a sudden I hear this wham, wham, wham on the tree really hard and fast. And I'm like, okay, what the hell is that? And it kind of freaked me out a little bit. And I'm used to walking out of the woods with no flashlight. Ever since I was a kid, we got used to not using flashlights, just using the moon, because you can actually see pretty well. And we did it not to push animals out too. And
right.
So it's getting dark, and I'm like, I'm out of here. Threw my backpack on. We have a lot of cougars in there, so I had a bad encounter in there with a sow one time. Ended up getting between a sow and a cub, and didn't know it. Got ran down by a sow. So I always have a pistol, usually sitting right beside me in case I can't get off a shot with my bow, that I can grab my pistol and defend myself. And I grabbed my pistol, threw it back in the holster, and beat cheeks out of there. And like I said, I didn't think anything of it. I'm like, okay, that was kind of weird, And then my buddies showed up a few days later, and I was telling them what had happened, telling them where I was getting into the elk and stuff, and told him what happened. He goes, dude, that's a tree knock. I'm like, what? That's a freaking tree knock? Because I've always believed that Bigfoot was out there, but it was one of those I wasn't like a firm believer, until I saw one then I would, completely believe it. But
So you were
there's just,
you were open to the possibility of it.
oh yeah, there's too many stories out there, and I understand there's going to be a certain percentage that's people faking it and stuff like that. But there's way too many stories out there for it not to be true. Especially like with the Native Americans, and you hear it from a lot of other hunters and everything else, and even people that have nothing to do with the woods, that are just driving down the road, and, in the mountains, going over the pass or whatever, commuting somewhere, and then all of a sudden one steps out in front of them and runs and across the. How do they explain it? They're not ones in the woods, but they know exactly what they saw.
Right.
So, for me, I was very open to it. I believe they were there. It was one of those. And you question, well, why isn't there a body? Why isn't there this? Why isn't there that? And I completely understand that. I mean, even people ask me about it now. Well, well, why isn't there a body? I don't know. I know what I saw. I'm not going to argue with somebody about it.
Well, no. Yeah, I mean, Well, one of the things I like about the fact that let me go back to the when it was going back and forth behind you but wouldn't come out. Was that in 2019 too?
Yep, it was the same. It was actually the same week. So I got there Monday, and that was Wednesday night, and then Sunday morning was when I physically saw it. And where I had it walking behind me and where I physically saw it, shooting straight across using my Onyx maps, it was about 600 yards apart, straight as the crow flies.
Yeah. We love Onyx. Onyx is one of our partners on the show. They actually got us. Did you know they have a Sasquatch emoji?
Yes, I do, because I put that on my where I had my encounter.
Hey, there you go. There you go. I'm telling you. Yeah, Jared, if you're listening, there you go. Well, listen, this is really cool because I like the fact that, first of all, wind direction is important for hunting. I mean, you want to be able to keep the wind from which way the game is. You don't want them to smell you. So, I mean, that tells me right there, you have a good concept of what we're trying to do in the woods. So woodsmanship is very important. I've been bear hunting for, I don't know, Mark, 9 or 10 times, I guess, and I've taken 9 bears. And when bears walk, you do not normally hear a bear until you see them. Their feet or their pads are they're so quiet. It's amazing to me. And usually when you hear some brush pop or you hear things going boing, like you said, that's either a whitetail or an elk or some cervid that's doing that, or a cow. If you got people out there farming cattle, it could be cows popping brush and stuff like that. But not normally you see a bear before you normally hear it.
Yeah.
But their noses are better than whitetails. They can smell from a long time away. What's up, Tyler? What's good? Ask him if he can replicate the grunt noise. Can you replicate? Any way you can replicate what the grunt sounded like? That's from that's Mike on Facebook Live.
It was kind of a deep, almost kind of a. It was just. It wasn't a buck grunt. It definitely wasn't that, because I hear that all the freaking time. But it was kind of a grunty, growly sound to it.
More of a growl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It had definitely had some rasp in its voice.
Well, did you hear? You said you heard it moving back and forth the week before, or when you first got there, right? You could hear it moving.
Yeah.
Chances are it probably wasn't a bear then.
Yeah. No, I could hear when it was walking behind me. I could hear heavy foot, as it was walking back and forth. Because in that particular area, like right behind me, there's a lot of main trails back there, and it's beat down to powder, and there's no branches or anything like that. So I could literally hear the footfalls, really heavy footfalls behind me.
Okay. Well, I was just going to ask you. I mean, I've never been to Oregon. I've been to Colorado a couple of times, like I said, and I just know from the deadfalls and stuff out there, when you're getting 9 to 10,000 feet up, I mean, you literally got to climb over stuff. I mean, it's just not a lot of smooth walking in a lot of places. The place where I filmed my elk hunt on Respect the Game TV 2 or 3 years ago, it'll be 3 years this year now. I can't believe that. But I mean, they had a fire go through, so that was pretty open. I mean, we could actually see the elk coming in from a ways, and But normally there's deadfalls all over the place, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to hear something running through there. But bears. Mark, now you correct me if I'm wrong, because you've been out with bears more than I have. But they more normally stay more on game trails and stuff, don't they?
Yeah, yeah, they hang on the trails pretty good.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So, well, so how big when you had your side encounter, when you actually saw whatever you saw, stick his head out and the shoulder and all that, that's not a bear. You knew
No.
that. That's not a bear. Yeah, and you knew it wasn't another hunter because you saw its face.
Yep.
Could you see the eyes and the nose and the teeth and everything, or how detailed
Well,
look did you get?
so I could see its eyes. I couldn't tell you if they were, had white around them or anything like that. It was just far enough away I couldn't tell that kind of stuff. It never had its mouth open. It was closed, but it had real thin lips.
Okay.
And it had a normal hooded nose like what we've got, other than it looked like he'd been boxing forever and it
Kind of flattened out.
flat,
Yeah.
flat. Had the stereotypical conical shaped head. His hair was chocolate brown, and his skin on his face was the same, but just a little bit lighter and real leathery looking, really weathered looking. And it kind of just kind of went around the perimeter of his face, around his eyes, come back on his cheeks, and then back out around his mouth, and then up around. So there was quite a bit of skin showing.
No way it was somebody in a mask.
Oh no.
How big was the shoulders? How wide?
I could only see just partially of one.
Yeah.
And just because he was leaning out, he wasn't standing completely out, so I didn't get to see the full body. So he was probably, I would guess, between 8 and 8.5 foot tall.
Okay. Now I mean this with all respect. I'm not. You know me. You and I have talked before, but I'm just asking you. No way it was like a Harry. Did it look like Harry and the Hendersons? I mean, was it like it was totally different from that? This was more like a. What would you describe it as, Mark? I mean, a hominid. I mean, is it typical Bigfoot, or I mean, Harry and the Hendersons to me, that's Hollywood and stuff. That's that's not what they look like, right?
No, that's too cartooned up.
Okay, that's a good word for it. Yeah.
This looked more kind of halfway between an ape and a person.
Okay. All right.
But I would say leaning more towards an ape.
Really? So more ape than human, a little bit.
Yeah.
And how big was the pine tree he was behind?
Oh, probably 2 foot, something like that. But it wasn't like that was the only tree. It wasn't. He was in the open and that was a tree. It was.
It was staggered. It was like staggered.
There was a ton there.
Yeah.
And a lot of reprod through there too. So.
Plenty of cover.
Plenty of cover, yeah, and that's why I could never when it. I always call it he. I don't know, but when he left, I couldn't see where he was. So I didn't know if he walked off or anything like that. I just, he popped out, stared at me for, approximately 15 seconds, and then, pulled back, and then, and that was it.
Just disappeared.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you as a hunter, I don't know how many times when I've shot a whitetail, and as soon as and you didn't shoot, you were just watching.
No.
Yeah, just watching. But I can tell you when you try to mark that deer or mark that bear after the shot, so when you get down, you always want to wait 20, 30 minutes to let them expire, right? Normal. I think most bow hunters would agree with that. Unless you see them go down. But I just know firsthand how many times I've had to go back and look at the camera after I went and I said, well, okay, that's where that deer went. And then when I went over there, there wasn't any sign. So I had to go back and check the camera. It's easy to get confused about where you're seeing things. When you got down, did you just leave or did you go over there and look at all?
No, I left. I was too freaked out. I was way too freaked out.
Yeah. Well, I can't say as I blame you. I'd probably be a little freaked out too. I'm an idiot though, Mark. I probably would have had to gone over there and look and see if I could see anything. But I'm an idiot.
Yeah. It's one of those. I had a lot of people say the same thing. Well, you should have gone and looked. Well, in that moment, you're not thinking of that. You're seeing this great big hairy sucker that doesn't exist, standing there looking at you. It's
You come to, you probably came to the realization that you were not at the top of the food chain.
No. Oh no.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I told you I'm an idiot. I probably still would have went over there. But that's to me. And what I like about what your encounter was, you're not selling anything. You're just you're telling your story, and I admire you for doing that because I know that. How long did you go back to camp and tell your hunting buddy?
No, I see what I actually did once I hit camp. I'm like, I'm done. I'm done with the woods.
Oh.
I'm out of here. I'm done hunting. I'm out. And I literally packed up my camp and had it tore down and loaded in the truck, ready to come home. And I sat down in a chair afterwards. And then actually, when I sat down in that chair, I realized I had pissed myself. I'd gotten so scared up there that I pissed myself, and I didn't realize it until, I got down and physically sat down, and kind of the adrenaline had kind of gone away, and I relaxed, and I could finally was like, God, it smells like pee, and I looked down, and you could see my pants were wet from me peeing.
See, a lot of guys wouldn't admit that either, Mark. I mean, to be honest with you, I see it. So. I've been scared a couple times in my life, and when you get that scared, you kind of, it's like an out of body encounter. It's not like you're really there. It's like does that make sense?
Yep.
When you get that scared, so I totally understand that. Hey, I'm gonna hit a real quick break. Patrick, how you doing? Mountain Man, good to see you. Mike, Tyler, good to see you. Jeff said it was Roseanne Barr. Jeff, that's not nice. Come on, man. Yeah, that's we don't want to pick on Rosie. Mark, hang on. We'll be right back on the Unknown File Show on the Outdoor Call Radio Network.
In these times when a lot of us are working from home, it's even more important to make sure your home is the right temperature and comfortable.
Jeff, come on, man.
Experts at Wyckoff Heating and Cooling at 287-6000 to schedule a check on your current heating and cooling system.
I like Mark's stories, sir, the simple fact. He's just telling his story.
System installed with your AC heating system can solve that issue right away.
He doesn't have a website, or he's not trying to sell books or anything.
For 70 years. They offer
to me, that's really credible.
Programs like the Peace of Mind Plan for less than $15 a month. So if you
want more
time on the water or in the woods this year, please call the folks at Wyckoff Heating and Cooling for any of your home or business heating and cooling needs. One call to Wyckoff Heating and Cooling will bring you peace of mind under your roof every day.
We all want the deadliest broadheads out there. Have you tried?
Thank you, David. I hear you, Rick. That is pretty scary, buddy.
Deadliest broadheads on the market. No matter.
He's a nice guy. I talked to him for a while before we got on. Hey, Melissa.
The Magnum.
It was in Oregon, kiddo.
This trick 2 or the standard slip trick. They all offer bone-crushing.
How's my hero doing?
With superior cutting diameter.
He could sell beef jerky.
All steel ferrule. Alcatraz.
I'd buy a bag from him
to prevent broadhead failures at the moment of impact. That will help you get your game. If you're a mechanical fan, the Raptor trick is going to be your.
Hi, Jason. How's it going?
4-edge bone-splitting tip, 2-inch cutting diameter, and deadly accurate flight. Bow hunters need gear that they can depend on 100% of the time. You wait all season for that shot. Do not trust it to a head that will not deliver a short recovery. For more information, go
Thank you, Russell.
at slicktrick.net. This year, trick 'em with slick trick broadheads and tag your game.
Are you into hunting, fishing, camping, or tailgating? If you are, we'd like to introduce you to Arctic Ice. Arctic Ice is a brand new way to keep your game, beverages, and camping supplies
One more and we're back.
wherever your adventure takes you. Arctic Ice Packs are a rugged ice substitute that maintains low temperature longer than a bag of ice and does not have the slushy mess that can contaminate what's in your cooler. If you like to hunt or fish, look at the Alaskan Series or Arctic Ice Packs that will keep your game or fish at 34 degrees for 3 to 4 days. If you're wanting to really freeze things up, try the Tundra Packs that can keep your wild game and fish at dry ice temperatures for the travel back home. For tailgating or camping, try the Chillin' Brew Packs. It'll keep your beverages of choice at frosty cold temperatures 4 times longer than a bag of ice can. If you want your game, fish, or camping goods to stay fresh and cold as possible without the mess of regular ice,
Doing okay, hero.
Arctic Ice Packs today.
Heading on your next adventure and looking for some snacks to take? Why not pack a snack that tastes great, gives you protein, and is easy to pack? Have you heard of Soldier Boy beef jerky? Soldier Boy jerky is slow smoked in small batches to ensure generous, tender morsels that taste outstanding. Soldier Boy beef jerky offers the following flavors: sweet heat, original, maple, or pepper flavors that will satisfy you all day in the field. Soldier Coming Boy back. Beef Jerky is veteran-owned and proud supporters of the Canines for Warrior Foundation. They also donate to troops that are deployed serving our country. So next time you're looking for snacks from home or on your next outdoor adventure, please remember to reach for some Soldier Boy Beef Jerky, available at Sportsman's Warehouse. Soldier Boy Beef Jerky, outstanding taste that keeps you satisfied in the field. For more information, please check us out online at www.sbjerky.com. Oh, all right. Welcome back to the Unknown Files show. This week we're talking to our guest, Mark Parker. Mark is a bow hunter out in the Oregon area who had an experience with a very large animal, and it wasn't an elk. All right, Mark, thanks for holding through the break. We appreciate that.
Sure, no problem.
Everybody says you got a great story. Somebody said you should sell beef jerky.
Yeah.
I've had 4 or 5 people in the last couple of weeks that asked me, because I told everybody I bought a FLIR unit, and I've got some friends. I don't know if I've said this I think I've told this story, but I've actually got a couple of friends of mine that swear they've seen them here in Iowa, and these guys don't lie. They're very honest guys. So I bought a FLIR unit, and they said that there's ones like an habitual area. They hear and see things quite a bit when they're out there. So I told them after turkey season, when spring's up a little bit, I want to go out there and just kind of listen and see if I hear anything. But this thing's good for 300 yards.
Wow.
So we'll see what happens. But that's crazy. So you got back to camp, you gathered yourself, you kind of sat down, and then you packed your bags. You got back home. How long?
I didn't head home right then.
Okay.
So I was sitting there, and then my buddy Tom, who I was hunting with, he showed up. He's asking me, so what's going on? Why is camp packed up? I said, I'm done. He goes, well, because I was supposed to be there through the following Thursday.
Yeah.
And he goes, you still got a few days to hunt. I'm like, nah, man, I'm done. I'm ready to go home. Just burn out. I need to get home.
You didn't tell him.
No, not at that point. And I was, after all that adrenaline dump and stuff like that, I was just physically exhausted. I mean, I was wore out. There was no way, because the drive home is about a 6-hour drive from where we're at, and there's no way I could have done it. So I got in the truck, locked the doors, and I slept in the truck. And as soon as I got enough sleep and woke up, I left, and he left too. We both left at the same time.
So he didn't go. He didn't go hunting the next morning.
No, because he had to head back the next morning anyway, because he was just there for the weekend.
Okay.
He just came for the weekend. Excuse me. So it was once I got home, I didn't say anything. I just kind of clammed up to myself, and in my head going, what the hell's going on, and didn't know what to do, didn't know what to say, didn't know who to talk to. And finally, after about a week, I had mentioned it to him, that what had happened. He's like, dude, why didn't you tell me? It's like, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to, I was still, it was still running through my head what had happened. And I just kind of had to think about it and, not just blab out and sound like a crazy person. I just kind of had to take it in for a bit. And
Yeah.
Because I was confused. I'm not going to lie, I was freaking confused. I didn't know what to believe.
But you knew what you saw.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
No, I can respect that. Listen, like I said, I've been doing this thing for 11 weeks or whatever, and I did a couple Halloween shows over the years where we've talked about, ghosts and Bigfoot and stuff, and I never really had anything. I've gotten a few emails over the last couple of weeks saying, you're supposed to be a serious bow hunter. Why are you talking about this stuff? This is, and I said, listen, here's the thing. I enjoy talking about it and listening to the stories. If you don't like it, you can always not listen. I'm not making you listen. And I said, I am a bow hunter. I've been doing it for 35 years, and I've got nothing left to prove to anybody. So, me just talking about it, I already picked up some ridicule. I can't imagine what it would be like for somebody that actually said they saw him.
Yeah.
So that I can understand why you were kind of hesitant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, once you told him, and did you tell your family?
I told my ex-wife, and I honestly don't think she believed me.
Yeah.
She's one that doesn't believe in anything. I mean, literally anything.
Yeah.
From God to ghost to whatever. I mean, everything it's got to be, she believes the news 100%, whatever is said, it's the truth. It's on the news.
Yeah.
Oh, really? So she just, she never came out and flat out said she didn't believe me, but I knew she didn't believe me. And so I kind of clammed up and didn't say anything. And then I have a friend that owns a tattoo parlor or tattoo shop, and he believes, and we've talked for years over Bigfoot and then just aliens and stuff like that. Well, you could be out there, but he's kind of the same way. Until he sees it, he'll believe it. But,
right. Hey, he's a healthy skeptic.
Correct.
Yeah, not kind of open-minded, but I got to see it to actually say 100% it's real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had gone in there and talked to him and actually had him do a tattoo on the back of my calf. So it's like the outline of the state of Oregon with the fir tree that's on our license plate with a Bigfoot stepping out from behind it. And then I had a star put it where it had happened. And it was just kind of my way of almost like reminding myself, okay, when I looked down, okay, yeah, that did happen, and that's where it happened, and stuff like that. So maybe it was a coping thing, maybe it wasn't. I don't know, but I had that done.
That's all right. That's cool. So how long did you stay out of the woods?
Probably about 2 weeks, and then I just kind of thought to myself, I'm not going to let it beat me. It was like when I had that where that sow ran me down.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't sleep for like a week, and I finally had to go see a counselor because I couldn't sleep.
After the bear.
Yeah, after the bear,
yeah.
And she had said, "Well, you're going in the woods." I'm like, "No, I'm not." She goes, "You are going in the woods tomorrow," and kind of forced me into it. So I kind of took that approach to it, like I'm not going to let it beat me. I enjoy the woods too much to not be out there. So I have some friends with a bunch of property, and I just went up there and hiked down into their property and did some hunting down in there. Just kind of, as I did that, I got back to being more comfortable with it, and it doesn't bother me.
Did you ever go back to where your stand was, where you had the sighting?
I did. I went back the following year.
You waited a whole year.
Yeah, I waited a whole year.
Man, I would have drugged my buddies up there. I don't care if I had to buy cases of beer or whatever. I would have done everything I could to get up there to see if you could find prints or anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I just like I said, it was one of those.
You had to ease into it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like even to this day, some of my friends that I hunt with don't know because they're very staunch non-believers. And
Really?
and
You've been on national
yeah,
TV. How do they not know that?
I don't announce it to them.
Oh, I got
I
you.
don't announce that. Hey, I'm on a documentary, or or
Yeah.
whatever. I don't. 'Cause it's one of those like, people, say stuff to me. Oh, that's a cool tattoo on your calf because I actually have two Bigfoot tattoos on my calves, and they'll ask me about them, and I'll kind of throw out a question. So, what do you think about Bigfoot? And if they, that's crap, and I won't waste my breath with them. But if they said, well, I believe they're out there, then I'll tell them my story. But I'm not going to waste my time with somebody that's just going to sit and argue with me and tell me you didn't see that, you saw a bear, or you saw this, or you're full of crap, or whatever. And I have nothing to prove. I don't care. If you want to hear my story, I'll tell you my story. If you don't, then I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're not trying to make any money off of it.
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
That's one of the things that I appreciate about you. Hey, I want you to do me a favor and say hi to my friend Melissa.
Hey, Melissa.
She's my hero, by the way. She's here in Iowa. She's one of our listeners, and she's been through a lot of stuff. She's one tough cookie. So Mike says he loves it. He goes, I love this guy. So John, thank you, buddy. Dale Griffin, thank you, Dale. I appreciate that. Tony Case, good to see you, bud. Thank you. So here's the thing. Now I was listening to your story with Tobe and Eric. They just had you on again on Flash of Beauty. They're doing their own podcast now.
Yeah.
And I love Tobe. I told Toby the Strange Brow radio stuff that he does. I've been begging him for a year. Please go back and do that. You were really good at that. I enjoy listening to it. I've been doing radio for 25 years.
Yeah.
And I just like listening to how he does his interviews. He does a good job. When I heard that podcast, there's a pretty well known bow shop out in Oregon, and there's other people in there that have had encounters that at the bow shop.
Yeah, they've had customers come in, and I didn't get to see these pictures, but the bow techs there saw them, and they told me, Mark, man, they were plain as day. It was absolute plain as day. And then, a few of the bow techs there know my story. I've told them. Mm-hmm. I haven't told the owners because they're very staunch. It does not exist. I've been in the woods for 100 years, and I've never seen them, so they're not real. So I've never mentioned anything to them about it.
What you didn't see the pictures?
I didn't get to see those pictures. No,
man.
I've seen pictures.
Yeah,
but not those.
See, that's one of the biggest things I hear about. Dan, why are there no trail cam pictures? And I said, well, there are trail cam pictures. There's trail cam videos, but I believe after looking what I've seen, 99.9% of them are bogus. I mean, you could they're either somebody in a ghillie suit or they're so unfocused and are so grainy you just can't tell. But I've seen a couple, Mark, saying that I can't say that I don't know what they are. I know they're not a bear, and there's a couple of them I've seen. I know they're not a human in a suit, so I don't know what they are.
Yeah. It's one of those. I've seen some pictures and they're plain as day what you see. I mean, there's no question. And I ask them, well, why haven't you shown these? Release it to the public or whatever, because it's plain as day. And he says, Mark, they're fake. You put this together. It's computer generated. It's this. It's that. They're going to have a million excuses to kind of brush the way that it's fake. He says, why waste my breath? He's kind of the same, or they were kind of the same way as me. It's why waste my breath on trying to tell somebody that it's real and they don't believe me? It's not worth my time.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, well, yeah, I understand that and I respect that because I'm the same way, with telling my story.
No, I get it. So, are you back to elk hunting?
I haven't this year because last year I did, and then I won't be able to this year. I tore up my shoulder and had to have surgery, and I'm actually getting ready to have a second surgery here at the end of this month. So this last year and this year I didn't get to, but I will be going right back to it.
Okay. Now
as soon as I recover.
Now, did you tell me that you actually saw another one or saw something?
Yes.
Tell. Now this is the one through the scope, right?
Correct.
All right.
So part of my trying to comprehend what had happened to me, I had posted that tattoo of my calf on a Oregon Bigfoot Facebook page, and I had a guy message me and wanted to know if he could call me. So I sent him my cell phone number, and he called and was asking me a bunch of questions where it happened. It happened in the Blue Mountains, and I said, yeah, and a bunch of other stuff. So I got to be pretty good friends with him. His name was Mike. And so, I told him, he asked me, so you're looking to get more into it? And I said, well, yeah, absolutely. I'd love to know more, see more, what's going on. And so he hooked me up with this guy named Daryl, which him and Tobe are together with the Al Moon Lab.
Right.
And so I started going up there with Daryl to this place, and it's crazy active. I mean, crazy active. So he actually puts peanut butter out there, cookies out there, and they just disappear. And we would do stuff like we would put an apple on a stump, and we would stack sticks all the way around it like a teepee, and leave maybe an inch between each stick, so it was tight.
Mm-hmm.
So if any animal would come up to it, a normal animal, and try and get the apple, they're obviously going to knock the sticks over and take the fruit. They're not going to be gentle about it. Well, we'd go back up there, and the frickin' teepee structures would be there still, but the food would be gone. And it's like, okay, well, how'd that happen? Can I say it was Bigfoot? No, and I'm not saying that it is, because I don't know what happened. I can just tell you what happened as far as...
So whatever took it reconstructed the teepee.
I don't know if I don't know.
Well, raccoons, I was going to say a raccoon could get in there, but I don't know if a raccoon could put it back together.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they pull anything pulls it out, it's going to knock it down. And that's why we did it.
Yeah, a bear's going to use its tongue or whatever. They're not going to be too gentle. I wish I had $1 for every trail camera I've lost to a bear.
Oh yeah.
They munch them like crazy.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, it's just nuts. But well, that now that's the guy that was with Tobe, that Daryl. That's the guy that was with Tobe, and they had all them other encounters around that property where he had his camper, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And so you're out at night and you go back out and you're glassing. So
we got there one evening, and so we always drove Daryl's truck up there, and so every time he drove up or went up there, he always put food out every single time. And like your dog at home knows your truck sound or your car sound when you pull up, they know that, they recognize that sound. So we think that it recognizes his truck sound and knows that every time he shows up there, they put food out. So that night we were sitting there, we went up, put some food out, and it was getting towards dark, so we headed back up the hill, and we had lawn chairs with us, and we kind of came down the hill just a little bit so we weren't skylining on the road. And we got down in there a little bit, sat down in the chairs, and just sat there. We were just going to, just sit, listen to see what we could happen. Well, down in the bottom, kind of off to the right, Daryl could hear some cracking and popping, and he's, pointing down there to me and asking, whispering to me, "You hear that?" And I'm like, I couldn't hear it because I've got a little bit of hearing loss from running machinery, all my life for work.
Yeah.
And I couldn't hear anything at first. And I had the old school night vision where everything's green. And it just kept popping and snapping. And it got up a little closer, and I heard it a couple times, and then it just kind of got quiet. So I throw up my the night vision scope and look, and out steps from behind one tree walks across probably a 4-foot section, maybe 5-foot section, and behind another tree. Just whoop, right there, right in front of us. And the trail he was on, or, like I said, I always call it a he, I don't know what it was, but went right to the stump that Daryl would always put his food on. So we don't know if, our thinking, hindsight was they heard us come up there, they know the food, he was going to the food. But I sat there, after it walked by, we both kind of freaked out, jumped up, and got into the truck and took off. I mean, we left the lawn chair. I mean, we just left everything there. We went back a couple days later with a tape measure because where he was, I knew where he was, where he walked, and we measured, and he was approximately about 9 foot tall.
Really?
And I could see him from about mid-thigh up, and from like his chest to his back, he was probably pushing 20 inches to 24 inches thick. He was big. It was big.
Huh.
So.
And that was that. You don't have any kind of. You didn't have any way. You could just see it. It was first generation. It didn't record or anything.
Nope, nothing. Just it was literally first generation, and this one was close. He was within 20 yards of us.
Really?
So, I mean, he was right there. I mean, there was no question. And it's real soft in that particular area. It's in a bunch of fir trees, so it's it's just ground is covered with probably 2 inches of fir needles.
Pine.
Yeah.
It's quiet, walking quiet.
Yeah, super quiet walking.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Hey, Hoyt, how you doing, buddy? Mike, good to see you. Hank, tell everybody at Revelton I said hi. Mike says once they let you see them, they will let you see them again. Now, I've actually heard that several times in the last 10 weeks.
I've heard that same thing, that once it's like a trust thing almost, and they'll show themselves to you.
Yeah,
so.
I think I'm going to have to talk to Mike. I think Mike might have seen something. So here, when you keep saying they, are there more than one there?
We definitely believe so. So we find a crap ton of track in there.
Yeah.
So I've got some casts. The one we think is like the alpha male, which is we think it's the one that walked right in front of us. I've got casted tracks of his that are about 16.5 inches from heel to toe and 6.5 inches wide. And then we find some that are 14 inches, some are 12 inches, which, people say, well, those are human size. If you saw how wide they are, they're not even close to human width. I mean, they are,
So are those
Bigfoot tracks.
Are those juveniles?
We thought maybe
female, female
juveniles, females. I actually have pictures. We found one that literally was about the size of my hand. So it was like baby or super juvenile or whatever.
Yeah.
We found one of those.
So, Mark, where do you think? I mean, during the day, where are they at? Where people they're not just walking up on them. I mean, are they in caves? I mean, where do they live? I mean, what does Daryl or Tope think? Where do they go?
I'm not real sure. That's something I've never really talked about with them. Other than, well, what do you think? And it's like I don't know. I know Daryl said that there is a cave down there somewhere.
Yeah.
But I'd never been down in there.
Well, like bears usually find some places that den up, or they'll get into a swamp area and just hang out in the grass in the swamp, and they'll make beds. So they're maybe they're doing the same thing as like bears and this stuff are doing, right?
Yeah, very well could be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's an exceptional story, man. I got to tell you, and I know Tobe has had a ton of encounters. Just listen to, what's up, Rick? Other dimensions. I don't. Rick thinks they're dimensional beings. Now, I've heard of that a lot too. That they're interdimensional.
I've heard a lot of that too, and come this new part 2 comes out, it dives into some of that stuff.
It's called Flash of Beauty Paranormal, right?
I believe that's what it's called.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the finished title or what, but I think that's what they were kind of there. Because see, like there's the flesh and blood theory that it's a real animal, or the people that honestly are 100% sold it's real.
Yeah.
You got the people that are saying it's flesh and blood. Then you got another faction of people who think it's real. They call it the woo, which is the more spiritual or interdimensional kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's fractioned, right?
Yeah. Yep. They both are kind of at each other's throats, and you're full of crap. You're full of crap, kind of thing. So,
Well, we should be able to have a discussion, right?
right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. I mean, come on. Hoyt says you should put a honey bun out there with a tracker in it.
There was one podcast I was listening to that they did something sort of like that. It was a thistle that they put some extra sticky stuff on it, and it actually, supposedly it adhered to one, and they had tracked it for a while, and then
they found it.
No, they didn't actually find the animal, but they found it fallen off, and they found the part that the tracker itself.
I had somebody say I was either listening. It wasn't Tobe's stuff. It was somebody else's.
No.
But they put a tracker and some food, and they actually found it in some scat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like a mile and a half away. So but they never did say if it was. I don't know if they did DNA on it or what. But Hoyt, I know they've actually done that. Alan, thank you, buddy. I appreciate. Alan said it's a good show. Always appreciate that. Thank you very much. Hey, we got 7:56. We got a few minutes, and I always appreciate you guys coming on here. The show is brought to you in part by our good friends down at Revelton Distillery. They are the official spirit of the Unknown File show down in Osceola, Iowa. Thanks to Rob and Christine and Hank and all the gang down there. So, where do you go from here now, Mark? I mean, you've had 2 encounters. Are you going back out there? What's up next for you?
I haven't been able to make it down to the Owl Moon Labs lately, just with some personal stuff going on and with some shoulder injuries. I've kind of been sidelined a little bit. But Tobe and myself and the crew actually from Flash of Beauty are supposed to be going down there in the next couple of weeks. We're going to go down there. They kind of wanted to film a little bit of do a recreation of the one where it walked in front of me and Daryl. And then there's the London Trackway down there, and they wanted me to help out down there. So
you need to talk them into going to where your stand is.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about that. We've talked about it. Like right now, there's no way you'd make it in there. There's probably 3 foot of snow anyway.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. So. Yeah. Hey, Melissa wants to know: did you guys ever try putting trail cameras where you're baiting at? I already know the answer to that. Yeah, you have.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
I can't really talk about that because it's in the film.
Yeah.
It'll be shown in the film.
Yeah, I've actually. Well, Tobe's tried to do it at his camper and stuff, and
yeah.
they seem to have. I mean, they get stuff on audio recordings like all the time, but they can never get anything on video. So far as I know. So
right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, don't break the news because we want to be able to look forward to that. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So any big I know you getting your shoulder put back together, but are you going to go try and get out in the woods again this year?
Yeah. If I'm able to, they think this should fix me, and I should be able to start shooting within the next 2 months. And if I can get shooting within the next 2 months, then I'll definitely be back in the woods this year.
Okay.
So I'm hoping because this injury's been dragging for over a year now.
Yeah.
And it's just I'm kind of getting tired of it. So, but they said I should be within the next couple months after my surgery be back to almost 100%. So.
Well, yeah, you'll get there. I've had that done too. Melissa says, please let everybody know when the film's coming out. This has been awesome, Melissa. I will make sure everybody knows. And Mark, if someone wants to follow you on Facebook, what's the best way to do that?
Just look up Mark Parker. I think it's in a fairly open account, and I think in my personal thing it has my phone number and my email if anybody ever wants to call me or email me and talk about it. I'm open about it.
Yep. No, you're pretty easy to talk with it about. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, my friend. I knew this hour was going to fly by. You keep up with everything. Let me know how you're doing, and we'll try and get you back on this summer sometime and see what's up. Okay.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure, Dan.
It was my honor, Mark. Thank you, buddy. We'll talk to you soon. Okay.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you, Mark. There he goes, Mark Parker. Good fella right there. All right, that is going to wrap it up for this week's show. If you got something out there that you've experienced that's unexplained, or if you've had an encounter that you wanted to talk about, please go to my email. The website is the outdoorcallradio.com, and you can subscribe and you can send me a comment. You can email me right there. My email is also on the Outdoor Call Radio page. I would love to hear from you. Always want to hear from what's going on out there in the good wild outdoors. That's going to wrap it up for this week. I'll see you next Wednesday right here on the Unknown Files Show. Good night, everybody. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you, Hoyt. I appreciate that. Rick, thanks. Melissa, thanks, everybody. Please tell your friends if you like this kind of stuff. We're going to keep rolling it out. So we got some really cool stuff coming up. We'll have Mark back on again, and we'll hope to have Tobe and Eric from Flash of Beauty on as well. But let me know if you need anything or if you've seen anything. Mark, where you at, Mark? I got to go back. Mike, we're going to have to talk, Mike. Thanks, everybody. Have a great Wednesday, and I will see you soon. Let me know if you need anything. Night, everybody.